In the year 2492, humanity had reached out to the stars, mingling with alien civilizations under the watchful governance of the Galactic Council. Earth, a member of lesser influence, had mostly kept to its own solar system, abiding by the strict laws set forth to maintain interstellar peace and order. Among these laws was the prohibition of unauthorized explorations into sacred or protected zones, one of which was the Omicron Nebula, a sprawling cloud of gas and dust, renowned for its breathtaking colors and the ancient ruins it housed. Marla Tung, a 15-year-old Earthling, was aboard the research vessel Endeavour, orbiting near the nebula's edge. Her mother, Dr. Elise Tung, was a prominent astrobiologist tasked with studying non-native flora and fauna that might thrive in such environments. However, the deeper mysteries of the Omicron Nebula were off-limits, guarded by the Thalraxians, a species whose partnership in the Council gave them the right to enforce its decrees. Curiosity was Marla's nature, and the nebula's forbidden allure only heightened her intrigue. With her wide, inquisitive eyes often glued to the observation deck's panoramic windows, she dreamed of what secrets lay beyond. The nebula was said to hold an ancient monument, or relic of a long-gone civilization, declared sacred by the Thalraxians. To them, it was not just an archaeological site but a spiritual ground that connected their people across galaxies. One evening, as the Endeavour conducted routine scans, a rare opportunity arose. An unexpected system glitch caused a temporary distraction among the crew, pulling their attention away from their regular duties. Seizing the moment, Marla slipped into a small, unmanned scout ship docked in the hangar. Her heart raced as she initiated the launch sequence, her hands steady despite the adrenaline that coursed through her veins. The scout ship drifted silently into the nebula, guided by Marla's deft control. She navigated through the vibrant mists, her path illuminated by the nebula's luminescent gases. As she approached the sacred site, the beauty of the alien monument came into view, towering structures of gleaming metal and stone, inscribed with writings of a forgotten language, and surrounded by a field of levitating stones. Marla's awe was overwhelming, her breath caught in her throat as she marveled at the sight. She landed the scout ship on a nearby asteroid, taking care to not disturb the sanctity of the site. With a small handheld camera, she began to document her findings, whispering into the recorder about the wonders she observed. However, her fascination was short-lived. Alarm sensors in the scout ship suddenly blared to life, indicating multiple approaching vessels. Panic set in as Marla realized she had been detected. The Thalraxian security force, tasked with guarding the monument, surrounded her swiftly. Their ships were sleek and menacing, a stark contrast to the serene beauty of the sacred site. Marla tried to plead her case, her voice trembling as she spoke of curiosity and admiration, but the Thalraxians were unmoved. They viewed her trespass as a severe violation of their cultural and spiritual laws, an act of profound disrespect. With grim faces, they took her into custody, her fate now hanging in the balance as the ship set course back to the Endeavour, her moment of wonder turning into a dire predicament. Marla Tung sat in a small, dimly lit room aboard the Thalraxian patrol ship, her hands clasped tightly in her lap as she waited for her fate to be decided. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to pulse with a soft, bioluminescent glow, reminding her that she was far from human jurisdiction. The air was thick with a scent she couldn't place, adding to the alienness of her surroundings. She could hear muffled voices outside the door, their tones stern and unyielding. Finally, the door slid open with a quiet hiss, and two Thalraxian guards entered. They were tall and imposing, their skin a shimmering shade of blue that deepened with their movements, eyes wide and unblinking. They motioned for her to stand, and she complied, her heart pounding in her chest. "Young human," began one of the guards in a voice that hummed like distant thunder, "you have been brought before the High Sentinel to answer for your transgression. Follow us with respect." Marla nodded, her mouth dry as she followed them through winding corridors that led deeper into the ship. They entered a grand chamber where a Thalraxian in ornate robes awaited, his presence commanding. This was the High Sentinel, the enforcer of their laws across the nebula. "Marla Tung of Earth," the High Sentinel intoned, his voice echoing around the chamber. You stand accused of violating the sacred boundary and desecrating a site of immense cultural and spiritual significance to the Thalraxian people. How do you plead? Marla swallowed hard, gathering her courage. I plead for understanding, High Sentinel. I meant no disrespect. I was driven by a desire to learn and share knowledge. I apologize deeply for any harm my actions may have caused. The High Sentinel's gaze did not waver. Curiosity does not absolve negligence, nor does it justify the invasion of sacred grounds. The laws of the Galactic Council are clear and binding. Ignorance is not a shield. Marla's eyes filled with tears as she realized the gravity of her situation. Please, she implored, I am young and did not fully understand. I ask for mercy. The chamber fell silent as the High Sentinel considered her plea. After a long pause, he spoke, the Thalraxian people hold the sacred boundary as inviolate. To transgress this law is to deny our very heritage. Though you are young, a precedent must be set to deter future violations by others who might claim ignorance. He stood, his figure towering over the room, casting long shadows across the metallic floor. Marla Tung, you are hereby sentenced to termination under the authority of the Galactic Council. This verdict shall be carried out immediately. Let this serve as a lesson to all species who dare trespass against us. The finality in his voice was a cold blow to Marla. She felt her knees weaken, her world collapsing around her as the guards stepped forward to escort her away. Please, no, she cried out, her voice echoing hopelessly in the vast chamber. I didn't mean to. But her pleas faded into the sterile air of the ship as she was led away, her fate sealed by the harsh justice of the Galactic Council. Her trial would soon reach Earth, setting the stage for a response that would echo through the stars. Word of Marla Tung's fate reached Earth within hours, the news spreading like wildfire through every media outlet and digital platform. The populace, already wary of the Galactic Council's draconian laws, reacted with horror and disbelief. Protests erupted in major cities across the globe, with crowds gathering in front of government buildings, demanding action and justice for the young explorer. In New Geneva, the capital of Earth's unified government, thousands of citizens filled the streets, their chants resonating off the towering structures of glass and steel. Amidst this sea of unrest, President Lara Quinto watched from her office in the Planetary Assembly, her expression grim. Her advisor, General Miles Corbin, stood by her side, his face etched with concern. Madam President, the public's reaction is escalating. If we don't respond decisively, we risk not only civil unrest but a potential schism with the Galactic Council. President Quinto nodded slowly, her gaze fixed on the scenes of protest broadcasted on the screen. I understand the risks, Miles, but we cannot let Marla's death go unanswered. She was a child, exploring out of sheer curiosity. Her punishment is a gross miscarriage of justice. The president turned and moved to her desk, activating a secure communication line. Set up an emergency session with the council representatives. We need to address this issue head-on. Hours later, in a secure meeting room, President Quinto faced the holographic projections of various council members, their alien features marked by varying expressions of disinterest and impatience. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, President Quinto began, her voice steady despite the turbulent emotions she felt. Today, I come before you not just as a leader of Earth but as a representative of humanity. The execution of Marla Tung, a mere child, by Thalraxian authorities is not only a tragedy but a profound injustice that shakes the very foundation of our alliance. A Thalraxian representative, Senva, responded with a tone of condescension. President Quinto, while we sympathize with your emotional response, the laws of the Council are clear. The girl trespassed on sacred ground, and the punishment for such crimes has been long established. Earth must respect our sovereignty and the legal frameworks that have maintained order in the galaxy. President Quinto clenched her fists, barely containing her anger. And what of compassion, Senva? What of understanding and the discretion to see a child's mistake for what it is, a mistake? Earth cannot, will not, stand by while its children are condemned for acts that harm no one. The meeting grew tense, the air thick with unspoken threats and the weight of impending decisions. After a long pause, President Quinto continued, "If the Council will not reconsider its stance, then Earth must reevaluate its position within this alliance. We are prepared to take whatever measures necessary to protect our citizens and uphold our values." As the transmission ended, the room was heavy with silence. President Quinto turned to General Corbin, her resolve clear. "Prepare a briefing. I want updates on the status of our ancient fleet. It's time to remind the galaxy that Earth is not without defenses." Outside, as the protests continued, a new chant began to rise, a rallying cry that echoed the president's resolve: "Justice for Marla. Earth stands strong." The message was clear, and across the world, people looked to the stars with a mix of fear and defiance, united in their grief and their newfound determination. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, in a facility long concealed from both public knowledge and alien surveillance, ancient engines stirred from their slumber. The lunar base, known as Arcadia Station, had been the cradle of humanity's interstellar ambitions, a secret kept for generations. Here lay the remnants of Earth's first foray into space warfare, an ancient fleet, mothballed after the establishment of peace with the Galactic Council. Admiral Eva Caro, a veteran of interstellar command and a strategist of unmatched skill, walked briskly through the cold, metallic corridors of Arcadia Station. The urgency of her mission weighed heavily on her shoulders. Her boots echoed in the hallways, a solitary sound in the vast emptiness of the base. She entered the main control room, where her team was already hard at work. Screens flickered to life, showing schematics of ships that had not seen the light of stars in over 2 centuries. Engineers and technicians moved with purpose, guided by the gravity of their task. "Status report," Admiral Caro commanded as she approached the central console. Lieutenant Harrow, her second-in-command, turned to face her, his expression serious. "All systems are coming online, Admiral. The AI cores are stable, and propulsion tests are scheduled to start within the hour. We're proceeding with reactivation of the USS Titan, Andromeda Ascendant, and the rest of the fleet." Admiral Caro nodded, her gaze sweeping across the room. "Excellent. Have the weapons systems been evaluated yet?" "We're on it, Admiral," replied Chief Engineer Ramos, overhearing the conversation. "Most of the technology is antiquated, but surprisingly advanced for its age. We're integrating modern enhancements where necessary, but it'll take time to ensure full operational capability." Admiral Caro walked over to a large viewing window, her eyes fixed on the USS Titan as it lay in its mooring clamp. The ship was a behemoth, its hull adorned with the scars of old battles, a silent testament to Earth's once mighty presence in the galaxy. "Time is a luxury we do not have," she said quietly, more to herself than to her crew. "Marla's death has lit a fire under the Council's feet. They'll be watching us closely now. We need to be ready to move at a moment's notice." Turning back to her team, she raised her voice, imbuing it with the confidence and resolve that had seen her through countless crises. "I want non-stop work shifts. Rotate personnel as needed. We need this fleet spaceworthy as soon as possible. Earth must show its strength, not just to avenge Marla but to ensure that no such tragedy befalls our people again." As the team acknowledged her orders, Admiral Caro stepped aside to communicate directly with President Quinto. "Madam President, the awakening is proceeding. The fleet will be ready to stand by Earth's decree." On the other end of the line, President Quinto's voice was firm and resolute. "Thank you, Admiral. Keep me updated. Earth must not only stand tall but be ready to strike if called upon. Our place in the galaxy depends on it." As Admiral Caro ended the call, she returned her attention to the bustling control room. The energy was palpable, each person there understood the stakes. This was not just about reactivating old ships, it was about reigniting the spirit of a planet united under a common cause, justice for one of their own and a clear message to the universe that Earth would bow to no injustice. The atmosphere within Arcadia Station was charged with a palpable sense of urgency. As the ancient fleet hummed back to life, each vessel was meticulously prepared for what would be a historic mission. The USS Titan, flagship of the revived fleet, stood as the embodiment of Earth's technological prowess and determination. Its vast hull, once silent and dormant, now buzzed with the energy of countless engineers and crew members readying it for departure. Admiral Eva Caro stood on the command bridge of the USS Titan, overseeing final preparations. The bridge, a wide room with a panoramic view of the lunar landscape, was alive with activity. Crew members manned their stations, checking systems and securing protocols. The air was filled with a mix of excitement and solemnity. Navigation, confirm course to Gliese 581, Admiral Caro ordered, her voice echoing slightly in the bustling space. Course confirmed, Admiral. All systems are green for jump, responded the navigation officer, a young woman whose hands flew over her console with practiced ease. Engineering, report on drive status, Caro continued, her eyes scanning the various displays that showed the ship's vital signs. Hyperdrive is fully operational, Admiral. We've tested all primary and secondary systems. Ready to initiate on your command, came the reply from the chief engineer, a middle-aged man with a calm demeanor that belied the tension of the moment. Admiral Caro nodded, satisfied with the updates. She turned to face her crew, her gaze commanding their attention. This mission isn't just a response to a tragedy, it's a declaration of our resolve. We strike not out of revenge, but to affirm our rights and protect our future. Let's show the Galactic Council that Earth respects its laws, but will not tolerate the unjust treatment of its citizens. The crew responded with a unified nod, each member aware of the weight of their task. Communications, send a message to all ships in the fleet. We depart in 10 minutes. Coordinate with Fleet Command to synchronize our jump to hyperspace, Caro instructed. Yes, Admiral, acknowledged the communications officer, his fingers already tapping out the necessary commands. As the final minutes ticked down, Admiral Caro took a moment to herself at the forefront of the bridge. She watched Earth's moon grow smaller as the fleet positioned itself away from any gravitational interference. It was a sight that few had ever witnessed, a fleet of ancient warships, born from Earth's earliest ambitions, now reborn as guardians of its present and future. The countdown commenced, and a deep hum vibrated through the ship, the sound of the hyperdrive engines spinning up to full capacity. Around her, the crew braced themselves, the familiar pull of hyperspace travel imminent. 3, 2, 1, engage, commanded Admiral Caro. With a brilliant flash, the USS Titan and its sister ships tore through the fabric of space-time, disappearing from the moon's orbit. The fleet was en route to Gliese 581, each ship cloaked and silent, slipping through the cosmos like specters. Back on Earth, news of the fleet's departure spread quickly. People gathered in public squares and in front of screens, their faces a mix of fear, hope, and pride. They watched as the last visual feeds of the ships flickered and then went dark, the fleet now on its covert journey. President Quinto stood on a balcony of the Planetary Assembly, watching the skies. Safe travels, brave souls, she murmured into the wind, her thoughts with the fleet and with Marla, the young girl whose spirit now traveled with them towards a distant star system, in the heart of the galaxy. The journey through hyperspace was a silent one, punctuated only by the soft hums and occasional beeps of the USS Titan's internal systems. Admiral Eva Caro spent the time reviewing battle strategies, refining tactics with her officers, and ensuring that every crew member was prepared for what lay ahead. The fleet's emergence point had been carefully chosen, a quiet sector just outside the Gliese 581 system, far enough to avoid immediate detection but close enough for a swift engagement. As the fleet exited hyperspace, the serene beauty of the Gliese system unfolded before them, belying the tension and the imminent conflict. Gliese 581, a red dwarf star, cast a ruddy glow over its planets, creating long shadows and deep contrasts. Report, Admiral Caro demanded as soon as the fleet stabilized in the real space. Systems normal, all ships report ready for combat, Lieutenant Harrow responded from his station. No immediate signs of Council forces, but we expect that won't last long. Admiral Caro nodded, her eyes scanning the strategic displays. Deploy scouts, enhance cloaking, and prepare all hands for combat. We need to establish a perimeter and get a lay of the land. We strike only on my command. The tension on the bridge escalated as small, cloaked scout ships dispersed from the fleet, vanishing into the darkness of space to monitor enemy movements. It wasn't long before one of the scouts signaled an urgent report. "Admiral, Council forces have been alerted to an anomaly in this sector. They're dispatching a squadron to investigate." "Visuals on screen," Caro ordered, her voice calm but authoritative. The main display flickered, then showed a formation of sleek, metallic ships, unmistakably Council in design, moving in a calculated approach. Their technology was advanced, but Earth's fleet had the advantage of surprise and preparation. "Prepare to engage. Target their propulsion systems. Disable, don't destroy. We need to show our capability without escalating to full warfare," Caro instructed, her strategic mind mapping out each move like a grand chess game. As the enemy squadron drew closer, unaware of the ancient Earth fleet's presence, Caro gave the order. "Engage cloaked weapons." Silent beams of concentrated energy lanced out from the hidden ships of Earth's fleet. The first hits were precise, crippling the propulsion engines of the Council ships without causing catastrophic damage. Confusion was evident as the disabled ships drifted, their crews scrambling to respond. "Send the following message to all Council ships," Caro said, her eyes never leaving the screen. "This is Admiral Eva Caro of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your propulsion systems have been disabled. We demand a ceasefire and immediate talks to discuss the unjust treatment of Earth's citizens. Resist, and face the consequences." The response from the Council was swift and surprisingly conciliatory, perhaps a testament to their unpreparedness for such a confrontation. "We are ready to talk," came the crackled reply from the Council's lead ship. With a strategic victory secured, Admiral Caro allowed herself a brief nod of satisfaction. "Cease all aggressive maneuvers and establish a secure line for negotiations. Lieutenant Harrow, keep our weapons ready but hold fire. This battle will now be fought with words." The stakes were high as the ancient fleet stood ready, cloaked and vigilant, while diplomats prepared to parley. Earth had shown its hidden strength, but now came the delicate task of turning a tactical advantage into a diplomatic victory. As the Earth fleet maintained its invisible perimeter around the disabled Council ships, tension on the USS Titan bridged from the tactical to the diplomatic. Admiral Eva Caro handed over command operations to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Harrow, and prepared for the role she was less accustomed to but equally vital, diplomacy. In the fleet's makeshift conference room, a holographic table was set up, ready to facilitate communication with the Galactic Council's representatives. Admiral Caro, still clad in her military uniform, her medals reflecting the dim light, stood resolute as she awaited the connection. The holograms flickered to life, revealing the figures of several high-ranking Council members, including Senva, the Thalraxian representative who had been vocally critical of Earth in past dealings. Their expressions bore the gravity of the situation, a mixture of caution and unforeseen respect. "Admiral Caro," Senva began, his voice steady yet clearly strained, "this display of force is most unexpected. We are prepared to listen to Earth's grievances." Admiral Caro nodded slightly, her posture firm. "Thank you, Representative Senva. We did not wish for conflict, but Earth can no longer tolerate the Council's disregard for human life and our sovereign laws. The execution of Marla Tung, a child, under your laws was a tragedy that could have been avoided. It was a misjudgment that has, unfortunately, led us here." A murmur ran through the holographic assembly, the other representatives exchanging glances. An Ixian member, known for their empathetic governance, spoke next. "We understand your distress, Admiral. Perhaps it is time to reconsider the rigidity of our legal applications, especially to younger species." Encouraged by this opening, Admiral Caro pressed on. "Earth seeks an amendment in the Council's legal framework. One that allows for cultural differences and the unique developmental paths of its member species. We must protect our people, just as you do yours." Senva, looking visibly conflicted, leaned forward. "What assurances can Earth provide that such interventions will not become common? Your actions, while precipitated by a tragic event, have alarmed many on the Council." Caro's response was immediate and clear. Earth will commit to peace and the principles of the Council, as it always has. But we also need a firm commitment to the protection of our rights and those of other developing worlds. Our actions today were a last resort, not a first strike. The negotiations continued for hours, with Admiral Caro skillfully navigating the complex political waters. With each passing moment, the Earth Fleet's silent watch over the proceedings served as a stark reminder of the delicate balance of power. Finally, a breakthrough came. The Council agreed to form a new subcommittee, including Earth and other younger species, to revisit the enforcement of Council laws and the rights of individual species within their own territories. This was a significant concession, and though it was not all Caro had hoped for, it was a start. As the holographic figures faded, signaling the end of the session, Admiral Caro allowed herself a moment of relief. She turned to her aides, a small smile breaking through her typically stoic demeanor. "Well done, everyone. Let's prepare for our return journey. We have much to discuss with President Quinto." Back on Earth, news of the fleet's success spread rapidly. Celebrations erupted in cities around the world, not just for the safe return of the fleet, but for the potential for a more equitable future in the Galactic Council. Earth had affirmed its position in the galaxy, not just as a member, but as a formidable advocate for justice and change. Following the intense negotiations, the USS Titan and its fleet lingered at the edge of the Gliese 581 system. Admiral Eva Caro knew the delicate truce with the Galactic Council was provisional, hanging by a thread of mutual respect and newfound fear. As the fleet prepared for the return journey to Earth, Caro planned one final act to cement Earth's message of peace and determination. Within the command center of the USS Titan, Admiral Caro convened a meeting with her senior staff, including communications and diplomatic advisors. She began, her tone serious yet hopeful. "We've achieved a significant victory, but it's not enough. We need to ensure that our message resonates not just as a display of power, but as a sincere plea for lasting peace." Lieutenant Harrow nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "What do you propose, Admiral?" "We broadcast a message, not just to the Council, but to all civilizations within this galaxy. We make our intentions clear. Earth seeks peace, cooperation, and mutual respect. We acknowledge our past isolation, but we emphasize our commitment to being active, positive contributors to the Council." Caro outlined her thoughts. "An excellent strategy, Admiral. It will demonstrate our leadership and our dedication to galactic harmony," Harrow agreed. Admiral Caro turned to the communications officer. "Prepare a transmission. I want it to go out in all standard Council languages. Make it clear, strong, and undeniably conciliatory." Within hours, the message was ready. As the fleet's communications arrays aligned, broadcasting the signal across space, Admiral Caro herself delivered the address. Her image and voice, translated into multiple languages, would soon be received by countless worlds. "People of the Galactic Council," she began, her expression composed and sincere, "I am Admiral Eva Caro, commander of the Earth Defense Fleet. Today, we stand at a crossroads. Recent events have brought us to the brink of conflict, a path that none wish to tread." She continued, "Earth has shown that it will defend its citizens and uphold its values. However, let it be known that we do not seek war. Our history is one of curiosity, exploration, and, at times, necessary solitude. Now, we extend our hand in peace and seek to contribute to the Council not just with words, but with actions. Our proposal for legal reform is a testament to our commitment to fairness and justice for all species. We invite all members of the Council to join us in this endeavor. Together, we can build a galaxy that upholds the rights of all civilizations, respecting cultural differences and promoting mutual understanding." The broadcast ended with a final, resonant statement: "Let us choose the path of peace and prosperity. We await your partnership in shaping a future where conflict is a memory, and collaboration is the cornerstone of our collective existence." As the transmission faded, silence filled the command center. The crew looked to Admiral Caro, seeing not just a military leader, but a beacon of hope for Earth's new role on the galactic stage. Back on Earth, President Quinto watched the broadcast, pride and relief evident in her posture. As messages of support and admiration for Earth's stand began to flood in from across human territories, she prepared for the diplomatic efforts that would follow. Earth had indeed changed the narrative from one of victimhood to one of valor and vision. The galaxy listened and watched, many species seeing Earth in a new light. Discussions began, debates ensued, and slowly, the seeds of change Admiral Caro had planted began to take root. The Galactic Council found itself at a juncture, influenced not by the might of weapons, but by the power of a well-placed word and the promise of peace. Following the intense negotiations, the USS Titan and its fleet lingered at the edge of the Gliese 581 system. Admiral Eva Caro knew the delicate truce with the Galactic Council was provisional, hanging by a thread of mutual respect and newfound fear. As the fleet prepared for the return journey to Earth, Caro planned one final act to cement Earth's message of peace and determination. Within the command center of the USS Titan, Admiral Caro convened a meeting with her senior staff, including communications and diplomatic advisors. She began, her tone serious yet hopeful. "We've achieved a significant victory, but it's not enough. We need to ensure that our message resonates not just as a display of power, but as a sincere plea for lasting peace." Lieutenant Harrow nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "What do you propose, Admiral?" "We broadcast a message, not just to the Council, but to all civilizations within this galaxy. We make our intentions clear: Earth seeks peace, cooperation, and mutual respect. We acknowledge our past isolation, but we emphasize our commitment to being active, positive contributors to the Council." Caro outlined her thoughts. "An excellent strategy, Admiral. It will demonstrate our leadership and our dedication to galactic harmony," Harrow agreed. Admiral Caro turned to the communications officer. "Prepare a transmission. I want it to go out in all standard Council languages. Make it clear, strong, and undeniably conciliatory." Within hours, the message was ready. As the fleet's communications arrays aligned, broadcasting the signal across space, Admiral Caro herself delivered the address. Her image and voice, translated into multiple languages, would soon be received by countless worlds. "People of the Galactic Council," she began, her expression composed and sincere, "I am Admiral Eva Caro, commander of the Earth Defense Fleet. Today, we stand at a crossroads. Recent events have brought us to the brink of conflict, a path that none wish to tread." She continued, "Earth has shown that it will defend its citizens and uphold its values. However, let it be known that we do not seek war. Our history is one of curiosity, exploration, and, at times, necessary solitude. Now, we extend our hand in peace and seek to contribute to the Council not just with words, but with actions. Our proposal for legal reform is a testament to our commitment to fairness and justice for all species. We invite all members of the Council to join us in this endeavor. Together, we can build a galaxy that upholds the rights of all civilizations, respecting cultural differences and promoting mutual understanding." The broadcast ended with a final, resonant statement: "Let us choose the path of peace and prosperity. We await your partnership in shaping a future where conflict is a memory, and collaboration is the cornerstone of our collective existence." As the transmission faded, silence filled the command center. The crew looked to Admiral Caro, seeing not just a military leader, but a beacon of hope for Earth's new role on the galactic stage. Back on Earth, President Quinto watched the broadcast, pride and relief evident in her posture. As messages of support and admiration for Earth's stand began to flood in from across human territories, she prepared for the diplomatic efforts that would follow. Earth had indeed changed the narrative from one of victimhood to one of valor and vision. The galaxy listened and watched, many species seeing Earth in a new light. Discussions began, debates ensued, and slowly, the seeds of change Admiral Caro had planted began to take root. The Galactic Council found itself at a juncture, influenced not by the might of weapons, but by the power of a well-placed word and the promise of peace. The aftermath of Admiral Caro's broadcast was a galaxy-wide shift in perception towards Earth. As the Earth fleet began its journey back home, diplomatic channels that had long been dormant buzzed with activity. Negotiations resumed, this time with a broader array of species participating, reflecting the diversity and complexity of the Galactic Council. In a spacious conference room aboard the USS Titan, now orbiting a neutral star system as a gesture of goodwill, representatives from various council species convened. The room had been modified for the occasion, equipped with advanced translation devices and holographic projectors to facilitate an inclusive and effective dialogue. President Laura Quinto, attending via a secure holographic link from Earth, opened the session with a unifying speech. Fellow members of the Galactic Council, today we stand together not as adversaries, but as architects of a more just and inclusive galaxy. Earth's recent actions were born from a place of protective urgency, but our vision extends far beyond mere defense. We seek reform, understanding, and cooperation. Senva, the Thalraxian representative who had previously opposed many of Earth's propositions, now expressed a more conciliatory tone. The events that led us here have been tragic and have opened our eyes to the rigidities in our own laws. We are prepared to consider reforms that recognize the diversity of cultural and developmental pathways within the Council. The discussions that followed focused on several key areas. Legal reform. A primary agenda item was the establishment of a legal framework that accommodated different cultural norms and practices, especially concerning exploration and scientific curiosity. This was directly inspired by the unfortunate events that led to Marla Ting's death. Cultural exchange and education. Many representatives agreed on the need for better understanding among Council species. Programs were proposed to increase cultural exchanges, educational missions, and shared scientific endeavors to build bridges between disparate civilizations. Defense and security cooperation. Acknowledging Earth's display of previously unknown military capabilities, the Council discussed the formation of a combined interstellar defense force. This force would not only address potential external threats but also ensure that internal conflicts could be mediated without resorting to military engagements. Human representation. Earth was offered a more significant role in the Council's decision-making processes, a testament to the newfound respect garnered by their actions and diplomacy. As the summit concluded, agreements were drafted, and a new committee was established to oversee the implementation of these changes. President Quinto, satisfied with the outcomes, expressed her gratitude and hope in her closing remarks. Let this day mark the beginning of a new chapter in our shared history. One where dialogue triumphs over discord, and unity over unilateral actions. Back on Earth, news of the successful negotiations spread rapidly. Celebrations were more muted than before, reflective of the sobering realities that had precipitated them, but there was a genuine sense of accomplishment and optimism for the future. In schools, homes, and public forums, people discussed the new role Earth would play on the galactic stage. The story of Marla Tung, while heartbreaking, had sparked a pivotal movement towards greater justice and cooperation in the galaxy. As the USS Titan and its fleet made the final preparations for their return to Earth, Admiral Caro looked out at the stars, her thoughts on the crew and the young girl who had changed the course of history. "Let's go home," she murmured, a sense of peace finally settling over her as the fleet turned towards Earth, ready to navigate the promising complexities of this new era. The return of Earth's ancient fleet was met with jubilation and reverence. As the ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their hulls glowing from the heat of re-entry, crowds gathered around the world to witness the historic moment. The USS Titan led the formation, a majestic sight against the blue sky, symbolizing not just Earth's military might but its newfound diplomatic prowess. Admiral Eva Caro stood on the main deck of the USS Titan, watching the coastline approach. She felt a mixture of pride and relief. The mission had been fraught with risks, but it had ultimately forged a path toward a more hopeful future. Beside her, Lieutenant Harrow smiled, sharing in the moment of triumph. "It's good to be home, Admiral," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "It certainly is, Lieutenant." "It certainly is," Caro replied, her eyes scanning the horizon. The fleet landed at the newly christened Unity spaceport, previously a military installation but now repurposed as a symbol of Earth's commitment to peace and cooperation. Dignitaries from various countries and representatives from different alien species who supported Earth's initiative were present to welcome the fleet. President Laura Quinto was among the first to greet Admiral Caro as she disembarked. The two women embraced, a public display of mutual respect and friendship that had been strengthened in the crucible of crisis. "Admiral, your leadership has not only brought our children home but has also ushered in a new era for Earth within the Galactic Council," President Quinto said, addressing both Caro and the gathered crowd. "Today, we stand not as isolated defenders but as proud members of a galactic community committed to understanding and respecting our differences." The ceremony that followed was filled with speeches, commendations, and reflections on the events that had transpired. Marla Tung was posthumously honored, her family receiving a Medal of Valor in her name. Her story, a tragic catalyst for change, was remembered with a mix of sorrow and gratitude. As the day turned to evening, Admiral Caro took a moment to visit a new memorial erected near the spaceport. The monument, a sleek pillar of marble and glass, bore the names of those who had advanced human understanding and peace, now including Marla Tung. Caro laid a wreath at the base of the monument, her thoughts on the young girl who had ventured into the unknown, sparking a galactic shift. Later, in a televised address, Admiral Caro shared her hopes for the future. "Today, we honor the memory of Marla and celebrate our safe return. But let us also look forward to the opportunities and challenges of tomorrow. Let this be the beginning of a new legacy for Earth, one of curiosity, courage, and, above all, cooperation." As the broadcast ended, families across Earth looked up at the stars with a new sense of connection to the cosmos. The ancient fleet, once a relic of Earth's isolated past, was now a beacon of its integrated future, ready to defend but also to bridge the vast distances between worlds. In the quiet of her office later that night, Admiral Caro allowed herself a moment of contemplation. The galaxy was vast, filled with infinite stories and possibilities. Earth had claimed its place among them, not through conquest but through the strength of its convictions and the bravery of its people. With a deep, satisfied breath, she turned off the lights and stepped out, the stars above welcoming her home.